Hello and welcome back to the Frontline Security Podcast. Now with me today is an incredible man doing remarkable things across the country. It's Faron Paul, a weapons collector who's travelling up and down the UK helping to reduce knife crime one blade at a time. And today we're going to be talking all about the amazing work FazAmnesty is doing and how careers like security can help people change their lives. This is what's coming up.
I want to show young people as well, you haven't got to be a bad boy, for people to like you. A bit further on in life, I got into a situation myself where I was hurt with a knife, on 2 separate occasions.
And the big thing there is that whoever does send in these weapons, they will be anonymous. You're not working with the police.
Children are allowed to be naive, they're allowed to be impulsive. It's a part of growing up, and I just think it's very important to guide them in that process. When that young person took that breath of air again and pushed that water out, man, I'm telling you, that is life-saving training I took there. And I got that from Get Licensed.
So, Faron, first of all, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
So, FazAmnesty, what is it?
So, FazAmnesty is an organisation that I built up in 2017. I first started off when I was spreading a lot of online awareness about knife crime and how younger children could stay away from getting into trouble. And then it quickly developed into FazAmnesty, the weapon organisation. I just wanted something a bit more physical, in terms of intervention. And I came up with a way to let young people, hand their weapons in. And then it really, really grew in the community. And I became inundated with messages from people in the community, businesses, alternative provisions in schools and local authorities that would ask me time and time again to come and collect their weapons. And that's what I've been doing ever since. Yeah.
And what made you actually start it in the first place?
Well, personally, growing up in my younger days, I saw that a lot of people that I grew up with, their talent was wasted. By the end of secondary school, they'd be in jail or they'd be smoking drugs or they'd be getting into trouble that would basically make them retract from their athletics careers or their academic careers. And I saw a lot of waste. And then a bit further on in life, I got into a situation myself where I was hurt with a knife, on 2 separate occasions. And that was a lot to think about in terms of what I want to do in my life, And it took me a lot, mentally and emotionally and physically, it took a lot for me to get to the state where I decided that, I want to dedicate my life to fighting against knife crime. And then what kind of really put the icing on the cake for me was when my niece was having a party in Tottenham, and that's in 2016. My daughter also attended the party, and my brother was supervising. And then halfway through the party, some young boys come to the party, and they kind of, they're in a big group, they wanted to get into the party. My brother said no, but they weren't invited. And then they started basically showing him that they had weapons on his waist. So my brother called me. I called my friend Nikos and my other friend, and we went down there. And we managed to basically take the weapons off the young people. There was no altercations. And then I just thought to myself, I want to make this have some sort of longevity, I want to carry on with this. So I just went and started searching for ways of how to interact with households and the community into them relinquishing their weapons to me.
And before you started, was there much in place to help these people?
I don't think there was personally. I'd say that there was various anonymous weapon boxes in police stations, and certain grassroots organisations had weapons bins on the street. But from data and statistics, we realised that a lot of these weapon bins weren't actually being filled with knives, and a lot of them actually get filled with trash. And then you may even have some weapons bins that were overflowing with knives, where people would have easy access to get the weapon. So I just saw a lot of loopholes that I believe was contributing to the state of knife crime. So I'm on a mission to fill all the holes that I can,
Yeah, I imagine with those things that are already in place as well, no one's going to really trust going into a police station with knife and hand it in and thinking nothing's going to happen to me.
Police station, or even if there's on the way to an anonymous weapons box, a lot of people's discretion is if they was to be stopped with a weapon by a police officer, then is that police officer going to believe that you're on the way to a weapons bin? That becomes the police officer's discretion, but it also becomes somebody else's criminal record or not, So I think with me being in the middle of it, with a sense of anonymity, trust, you know, and a bit of hope, and the relationship between the local authorities and the community, it works.
You mentioned before that you've been inundated with messages, people get in contact with you to get rid of their weapons. How have you found the whole program so far, the reaction from the public?
The public is what's really kept me here, you know. I've got so much like respect and admiration for my followers because they're the ones that have kept motivating me, you know. They're the ones that supported me with donations, you know. They're the ones that bring the information to me to let me be aware of certain things, you know. And I feel like, honestly, without the public and the community, FazAmnesty wouldn't be where it is today.
Yeah. And talk me through the process of someone who wants to get rid of a knife. What do they do?
Okay. So basically, I've got various social media sites. It'd be like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter. And I'll get a message. It literally comes through as a requested message. And it's either going to be a parent, a care home, even a hotel or a young person, much more of the time. And they just message me like simple like, yo. And I'd be like, yo, bro. And they'd be like, I need some help. I'd be like, talk to me. And they'd be like, I've got a knife here. And then we start arranging how I'm going to go about the collection. And obviously, depending on the logistics in terms of how far the weapon is from me, depends on how I then start to interact with that collection. You know, sometimes when I get collections from all up in Scotland or Edinburgh, because it's so far, I found a new way to make it more cost-effective and quicker. So we've incorporated a mailing service into FazAmnesty, where I'd basically get the weapons tubes, and then I'd send it off, addressed to FazAmnesty, but the person's address, with prepaid postage in the tubes. So once they get the tube, all they've got to do is open it, take out the prepaid postage, put the weapon into the tube, and then it gets addressed, sent back to me, to my office. And they're just other little ways that we've found to incorporate to make it, like, to keep the anonymity, to keep the trust, to make it more cost effective, you know. And we've kind of been making good ground with the local authorities in terms of the work I'm doing.
Yeah. And the big thing there is that whoever does send in these weapons, they will be anonymous.
Yeah,
you're not working with the police.
No. So no, I don't work with the police. The police, the way it's been set out, the police are happy for me to keep my anonymity. They respect it and they understand that that's what makes FazAmnesty work. I've taken over 5,000 weapons from the community, and that's come from hundreds and hundreds of people. No one's ever been arrested, and no one's ever been hurt.
Yeah, I think the big thing is trust, isn't it? They're trusting you to keep them anonymous, and you're trusting them that the knife hasn't been used.
Yes, exactly. That has to be a very clear thing. You know, I make it very clear that I'm not here to aid people that's used weapons as a point to get rid of, or as a point to discard the weapon, you know. And I think the trust goes both ways, because the way that I've built this now, I don't expect someone that's used the weapon to ever come to me to expect me to get rid of it, to put me in that position. And that's something I do every time I do collect a weapon from someone. I ask them, has it been used? You know, it's just protocol. It's just something I've got to do.
You mentioned before as well, you've collected over 5,000 weapons. Are you seeing areas where you're collecting more weapons from?
I feel like knife crime's at a really bad state now, but I do really feel like the areas that's got higher poverty problems, you know, the areas that's got like really built up tower blocks and stuff like that, they're the areas that's more susceptible to knife crime to me. But at the same time, I'm realising that knife crime is actually in all parts of society, higher class, lower class, you know. And if you really check the state of knife crime, 5-10 years ago, you wouldn't see people running around in broad daylight with machetes. We're seeing it now every day, you know. So I think it kind of corresponds to the state and the mind state of the young people regarding knife crime right now.
And what are the main weapons that you are collecting? Is it the likes of machetes and zombie knives?
So when I first started collecting a lot of weapons, it was more like the lock knives, the little flick knives, the butterfly knives. But recently, it's become more Rambo knives and ZKs, and then I'm seeing a lot more of the machetes and the long ninja-style swords. So I definitely feel like the knives that I'm collecting as of recent have definitely got more bigger, you know. They're like really, really gnarly knives, you know, like 2-point blades, serrated edges, like extensively long. It's just, it's just the kind of weapon that, you know, if somebody hits you with that, with the right intent, you know, the damage, will be it would just be catastrophic.
Do you think a lot of those knives are being used mainly for intimidation as well?
Yeah, I do think that because, it's just like competition's competition. And if the competition's got something bigger, I think it's a natural reaction for the other person to want to get something just as big or bigger, you know? And you got to think about it. Someone standing in the street with a 10-inch Rambo or a 7-inch lock knife against someone that's got a 17-inch ZK or a 21-inch samurai sword. You know, like, now we're talking about distance, you know, intimidation. I can touch you from here, you can't touch me from there, you know? So I do feel like the knives are getting bigger due to competition because they know what the other people out there have access to.
And do you see many like kitchen knives? Because we've talked about it before, about like domestic violence.
A lot of stabbing that used to happen with kitchen knives, like, they used to be domesticated, and a lot of people would use kitchen knives to stab people in the street. But as of recently, these knives are changing from kitchen knives to zombie-style knives, to Rambo knives, you know? My thing is that with kitchen knives, you've got families. All families in society have kitchen knives. But I feel like when it comes to disposing of kitchen knives, I don't think the average household knows how to go about it in a safe, correct way. I get so many messages every month of people saying, I've got a set of kitchen knives that I want to get rid of because I'm just upgrading my kitchen, or it's time to get a new kitchen set. But they don't feel safe to get rid of the weapon and put them in the street, you know, in a public bin. And sometimes they call the local authorities, and the local authorities, they won't provide the service of collecting them weapons, you know. And that's where people like me come in, you know, because I would never discriminate to go and collect a set of weapons, because to me a knife's a knife, you know. When I got stabbed, I never got stabbed with a Rambo knife. I got stabbed with a kitchen knife, you know, so.
And what else do you think we can do to help prevent knife crime? Obviously, we can try and take as many knives off the street as possible. But in your opinion, is there anything else that we could be doing?
I think the very first thing we should be doing is trying to prevent these young people from even wanting to carry a knife. Prevention is better than any cure. And I believe that going into these schools, into these alternative provisions, and speaking to these children from a young age and letting them know, you know, that knife crime ain't worth it, you know, showing them the effects that knife crime can have. And the way I see it is, if we can just prevent someone from ever getting into knife crime, we're never going to have to use any time or resources to actually deter that guy away from being involved with knife crime, you know? And I just feel like it's easier to prevent a kid or someone from doing something before they've actually got involved with doing it. So that's why me and my organisation, we spend a lot of time working with probation services, local authorities, and going into schools where we do weapons awarenesses. We talk about joint enterprise, we talk about personal safety, and, you know, just little things that let children understand how easy it is to ruin your life, you know. It just takes 1 minute, one wrong decision, and you can have regrets for life. And I just feel like it's so important to show young children that, you know, children are allowed to be naive, they're allowed to be impulsive. It's a part of growing up, you know. And I just think it's very important to guide them in that process.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think education is key. And before we move on to the work that you're doing with the schools, what are the main reasons that you're seeing people hand in knives for? Do they message you and they say, okay, I want to get rid of this knife?
So a lot of people message me to hand in knives. Sometimes there's so many different contributing factors or reasons. It's like every reason is unique, you know. Some people have just transitioned from that lifestyle. Some people have found themselves in a situation where they know they're going to get into trouble, you know, like some people's mums find it. Some people's just have a change of attitude and they want better. And then even like with the new weapons ban that just came out, you know, that's even egged a lot of households on to want to get rid of their weapons. So many contributing factors, but I don't really care what the reason is. I just want to collect it.
I mean, it's good to see that obviously the weapons ban is having some sort of positive effect. So I'm moving on to the work you're doing with schools. How did that first come about?
So the work that I do, it's a physical intervention, you know, but I feel like it's such a quick intervention that I communicate on the phone with you. I arrange a pickup place, I take the knife. But to me, you know, I felt like they needed additional support. you give me the knife now, but where's the support you're gonna get after this, you know? So that's when I started to basically divert into other organizations that can help with mental or financial or emotional trauma and stuff like that. And at the same time, I just thought it's really important to speak to these young people. Like I remember when people used to come to my school and speak to me, you know, I've got some everlasting presentations in my head. I just thought to myself, you know, if I can get into these schools and really start speaking to them, then it's going to help. So I've got a really, really good relationship with Slough Yacht Team, Hackney Yacht Team, Enfield Probation Services, Haringey, and I've started to basically communicate with them, and they're hard to reach children that they interact with. They're the ones that they started to basically divert towards me. And when I started to actually work with the younger people, they said that they were just seeing like a significant change in the way that they were thinking and, you know, projecting themselves. And we just started doing a lot of work, and bit by bit we've started to build other programs that really, really, you know, get into the nooks and the crannies of problems young people have, you know, from household into education, into traveling, into the friends they socialize with, you know, and just things like that. And it's really, really had a strong effect. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is that we've managed to have like a on-site mentoring team in certain schools throughout the academic year. And I just think it's really important to develop a relationship with these young people, you know. You can speak to someone once, but the once ain't enough. So I've just been trying to build long-term relationships in establishments that have access to these young people that need the intervention. And it's been working very well.
I think a big thing as well is for them having almost a positive role model.
Of course.
Come in and talk to them, so someone they can then look up to and think, wow,
I just feel like it's very easy to be distracted with what's on social media, what everyone's embracing right now. You know, there's a lot of negative stuff on social media. And I believe that a lot of the young people even idolize people that ain't the best for what they should be doing in life, you know? And I want to show young people as well, you haven't got to be a bad boy, you know, for people to like you. You haven't got to sell drugs and hurt people to then go on to be a rapper, you know? Like, you can still do good things and still get really, really, really good receptions from people, you know, and you still can hang around with the best of them, you know? And I just feel like being a bad boy, there's no longevity in it. At some point, you're going to get hurt. At some point, you're going to get arrested. You know, at some point, your friends are going to switch on you. At some point, it's just going to go bad. There's just too much negativity for it to be good forever. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like it's very important to guide these young children to the point they get to natural maturity. Like, okay, I don't want to do that no more. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes they get into so much trouble at a young age that by the time they realize that's not what they want to do, they're so far into it, in the legal system, into beef in the streets with people, into household problems with their parents, you know, that they've now got such a disrupted life that it's hard to get back on track.
Yeah, it's hard to come back from it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, outside of the work you do with schools and the work you do with handing in weapons, you also do patrols in your, like, communities, don't you?
Yeah. So I do a lot of patrols. The patrols are kind of like something that it's the only way that I felt I could be actively in the community when things are going on. And what I've known, that there's such a loophole in time for children, you know, especially at 3 o'clock when they leave school. Because most parents at work till 6 o'clock. So that child has 3 hours, free roam time in peak hours, rush hour, businesses open, impulsive friends that ain't doing the best things for them. And they end up getting into trouble, you know? And then that's why I want to be around them places, patrolling them heavy congregated spots where peer pressure and influence can make a young person do the wrong thing, you know? If we can just be there, giving them presents and tell them, don't do that, these kind of things help. But it's kind of escalated where the police have now asked us, you know, if there's like a traumatic incident or somebody's lost their life in the community and there's high emotions, then the police will ask us to go in, my team to go in, because we've got a good rapport and a good relationship with the community. Like, for police to come straight in when someone's just lost their life, it could be a bit confrontational, you know? With us, like, we're well receptive in the community, so they're the things we start to do. And since I started to carry out the patrols on my own accordance, I've now had local authorities approach me got Brent Council, we've got Enfield, we've got Haringey, we've got another one in Northwest London, but they're all working together, and my aim is that if I run a patrol in North London, the patrol's replicated in every other area where I've got people at the same time. So it's not just one patrol in North London. It'd be 7 patrols from North, South, East, West London, and probably in Hertfordshire at the same time, you know? So it's something that I'm working towards with my other partners in terms of like really facilitating all the resources that's going to allow us to be effective in our sectors.
And how big is the team that you've got at the minute?
So I've got 151 SIA approved workers on 0 contracts, and I've also got about, I think it's like 280 volunteers, but I'm still going through the process of processing them, and they range from York all the way down to London.
And you're trying to build the team as big as possible.
I am going to build a team as big as possible.
You are.
It's going to be a really big team, and I'm going to make sure it's a really organic team, you know, a strong team. And I'm not just going to have people in a team for no reason. I want it to really be a strong, impactful team. And I've kind of built this team off of community work, you know. We do this through passion. We do this through wanting to help, you know. And that's the kind of ethos I want my team to have.
It brings us on quite nicely to the new partnership with Get Licensed, which is going to be known as Project Transition. So would you like to tell everyone about Project Transition?
Project Transition. So just to start off, when it comes to Get Licensed, back in COVID, I decided that I really want to take off a FazAmnesty. And when I spoke to the Metropolitan Police, you know, they was going through like the policies and the procedures that FazAmnesty uses to go around the community and collect these weapons. And one thing that I said to them was, I'm going to go and get my SIA license, you know, because I believe that's the only way that I could prove that I was competent in the training that Get Licensed provides. And, you know, if you've got SIA license, then everybody knows you're going to have certain training that come with that: handcuff training, radio training, first aid training, conflict resolution, how to detain, and you learn a lot. And I feel like that's what kind of pushed it over to the Metropolitan Police, and they gave the proposal to go ahead, you know, and that made them realise that my organisation was competent, and any single other person that was going to join the organisation, they'd have to have the same accreditations. So I got my license at 219. I met Ozzy, he's the guy that trained me with Green, and we just kind of like kept a relationship, you know, and I went on to do some good things, like I've done security jobs and stuff like that. But for me, I just knew to take my organisation to the next level, I needed to have all my credentials in place. And not only that, it's like the advice that I get from certain people and Get Licensed, like Ozzy, like yourself, you know, it's like, it's just so invaluable. And yeah, that's what we're here now.
So now we're hoping to train 10 people a month.
Yes.
Get them SIA licensed.
Yes.
Get them fully job ready.
Yes.
Prepare the CV so they can work with yourself and other security companies.
So Project Transition, what Project Transition is, between me and Get Licensed, FazAmnesty and Get Licensed, we're going to take 5 young people and we're going to follow them for 6 months so you can actually see the full transaction of the young people. These young people will be sought from the probation services, the colleges and alternative provisions. And we aim to basically let these young people know their worth. Let them understand that you can have a job, you can have credentials, with the aim that, you know, once we get a young person who's transitioned from a not so positive life into having training and credentials and authority and respect of a door supervisor, you know, I feel like that is enough to make a young person change his way of thinking, you know? Like imagine a young person that's standing and he knows that he's responsible for looking after everyone in this party, and somebody just walks past him and says, thank you, or thank you for your time, thank you for looking after us. That is enough to make any man say, you know what, I want to keep doing this, you know? And it's a really, really good transition for me. Imagine going from someone in the street who was considered antisocial behaviour or problematic, you know, to getting them 6 months down the line, working with an organisation like mine, you know, being supported by Get Licensed, and then having another member of society who's there to protect and not take from it, you know. I think it's an amazing thing.
As well, for these people, they're going to be surrounded by positive influence as well. They could be working in a good team.
Yes, and I think it's quite unique and amazing because we're not just going to put young people on a 6-day course, and if they pass, say go and do what you got to do. Like before this happens, they're coming to me. We're going to do mentoring that's going to prepare them for the environment and the training that Get Licensed is going to provide, right? Then once they get the training credentials, they're then going to come and do some work experience in the real world in terms of the patrols with me for the local authority and working with other people that's got experience in doing security work with the aim that in 6 months, they'd actually be doing full paid work in festivals with myself or another team that Get Licensed may provide, And I just feel like it's something that we can document as well. We're going to see it. It's going to be real-time documented, not only from us, but the young people as well. And I just feel like it's an amazing thing. I wish somebody could have done that for me at that age, I feel like the young person getting involved with door supervision at 18 and acquiring his license at 18, he's got so much longevity and endless prospects in where he can go with that as of a person that's getting their first door license at a late age in life, And I just think it's really important to let these young people know that they can do it.
I think the main thing is that, like you said, we're not just getting them through the training course and licensed. We're actually going to give them experience and show, okay, this is what you need to do now. Exactly. And you can then build up to a supervisor role, manager position, wherever they want to go. We're going to be supporting them
exactly
the whole way.
That's just 5 people over a 6-month period. But what a lot of people probably don't understand right now is that Get Licensed is actually going to produce 10 people a month through FazAmnesty. And to me, that's giving back. That's, if you calculate that through the year, that's 120 young people that's going to have an opportunity to go and get a security license, And I just feel like that's life-changing, man.
And you've done your door supervisor course. You recently did your top-up as well.
Yes.
What advice would you give to these people turning up on the first day of the course?
Be early. If you're not early, you probably won't get in the course because there's so much to do. And at the same time, you can't turn up to your job late. So how can you turn up to training late? And I'd say just listen. Listen to the instructor because he's going to tell you everything you need to know more. Do the homework, do the revision, do the online modules. If you don't do that, you're going to come to the course and you'll be sitting down and you won't be able to participate that day because you'll be too far behind. So it's just very important to listen. If you have any problems and you don't understand it, just ask. Someone's going to tell you. The trainer's always going to help you. They're like really, really facilitating in helping, Like it would take you not being able to do it or not wanting to do it for you not to be able to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed. I mean, yeah, there's so many learning materials out there. And again, we're going to be giving them all of that.
And the funny thing about it is as well, yes, we are talking about door supervision here, but Get Licensed offers so many other training credentials, And this is something that Get Licensed may be open to, like, because remember we're talking like not everybody wants to be a security guard, right? But they do CS cards, that's construction cards and things like that, credentials. So this is something that we're really, really trying to facilitate the younger people growing up. And yeah, man, I really appreciate this collaboration, man.
Yeah, we're excited for it.
No, I'm super excited.
And why do you think security is the perfect career?
Because I just, with security, I feel like it teaches people schedule. I feel like it teaches them structure. And I just feel like there's a certain level of competence you got to have to be a security guard, And I just feel like it's admirable. Who don't like to help people? Like, everyone wants to be a hero, innit? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's a really rewarding job, Like, me personally, I like to help people. And I feel like anything that gives you the credentials or the better training to be more competent or efficient in helping people is an amazing thing.
Exactly. So many life-changing skills. We touched on it before. So first aid, physical intervention, all of that.
Do you know what I mean? It's just, like, tell you the truth, I really tell you the truth. I think the training I done with Get Licensed helped me to save a family member. I had a young person, a family member, and they nearly drowned in the water. And I went into the water and I pulled that young person out and they was totally unconscious. And the situation was so bad that the lifeguard went pale in front of my eyes and froze up. He didn't know what to do, and I just had to go back to that training in my head. And I went back and I took the young person out. I tilted the head to the side. I gave them the compressions with the 2 fingers instead of the whole hand that I learnt. And mate, I tell you what, when that young person took that breath of air again and pushed that water out, man, I'm telling you, like, that is life-saving training I took there. And I got that from getting licensed.
That'll stick with you for life as well.
It would stick for everyone for life.
Yeah. I feel like everyone should be first aid trained.
100%. I think first aid should be mandatory in schools. And I feel this is a good way to start that process. Because we're getting the young people from the schools now that's going to go through the training and end up with the first aid credentials, you know? And I just feel like it's just life-saving. It's life-saving. It could be for stabs, it could be for trips, it could be falls, it could be at home, it could be for drowning, you know? And I just feel like it's just really, really invaluable information that everyone should have, so.
Well, Faron, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. I'm very, very excited for Project Transition.
Likewise, man.
But before we wrap up, one final question. What advice would you give to any young person out there who may be struggling and wants to change their life around?
Find a goal. Find a small goal, an easily achievable goal, and tick that goal off. Then make your next goal a little bit harder, and then tick that goal off. Gradually, once you keep ticking off your goals as they get harder and harder, in the process, it's going to build your confidence of, I can do it. And once you start doing everything you set a goal to do, you're going to be unstoppable. So just set your goals, build your confidence, and build your life.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.